which Kai has, but the biggest one is actually obesity is the biggest issue, and I'm not sure what size Kai is.
No, he's very fit and healthy. I'm a personal trainer and have
Yeah,
been.
okay.
This is what I was so
Yeah.
shocked, you know. Yeah.
So basically, it's kids with BMI sort of above 30, 40, you know, like so big kids or kids that are above the 90th centile that we're seeing, and also kids with underlying immune deficiency. The one thing we are seeing, and it's rare, but the kids that I've admitted to ICU with COVID-related illness is the post-COVID syndrome that I'm not sure if you've heard of, but it's kind of like Kawasaki's. So it's an inflammatory syndrome that happens 4 to 6 weeks after having the illness.
Yeah.
And those kids end up with really bad myocardial dysfunction. They're at risk of coronary artery aneurysms. They end up on steroids and IVIG, and they've, you know, so the two in Geelong that we haven't seen enough COVID to have that happen a lot. There's been more of it in Melbourne, but we've since basically this wave, we've seen a couple down here, and they've gone to ICU, but they have gotten better, and it's incredibly rare. So it's less than 1% of kids that catch
COVID would end up in that position.
Like that.
Yeah.
So I think the balance, if it was just about Kai, I think it's very much a 50-50 balance. Like I think we having immunised from really only having started on the 10th of Jan, so far we haven't seen in his age group any myocarditis or endocarditis, pericarditis. And the American data in this age group doesn't show any either. I don't understand why that is. So I think we're all expecting to have the same kind of rate, which was about in the 12 up 50 to 100,000 rate of getting it. And in that group, that the reason that got through is that was also the rate of myocarditis and pericarditis from catching COVID. So there were equivalent rates of inflammation. I guess it's just harder when you've got it from a vaccine rather than the illness itself.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be the same kids. So you are kind of rolling that dice. We've seen lots of the kids through this clinic that have had the pericarditis following it, and they've all settled down over a few weeks with anti-inflammatories. Had one or two that had ongoing symptoms with no actual signs of objective signs of inflammation, but certainly had ongoing symptoms sort of more like for 6 weeks and then settled, but nobody needing hospital admissions or anything down here. But for some weird reason, the under 12 so far, with all of the American data and our very new Australian data, haven't had any of those side effects.
Okay.
I think on balance, the things to think about will be what it will mean for Kai. So I think the reality is he's unlikely to get particularly sick from COVID. It will probably be more what it means in terms of, if I don't know who else is in your house, whether
there's just myself and my son
that would be particularly susceptible, or whether everybody else in your house has been immunised.
Yeah.
But I think it would be, I don't think it's unreasonable for Kai not to get immunised. I think, my kids were all immunised sort of in the first week, but that's in part because for me, the rolling, for the rolling work and in and out of school and stuff, that was going to happen because I've got 3 kids and they're all going to go down sequentially. Was going to be a big deal. But for them individually, it's still, much of a muchness. And I think, given that you got pericarditis, did you get pericarditis or myocarditis?
Myo.
Oh, sorry, I can't hear you.
Sorry, myocarditis.
Myocarditis.
Yeah.
Has it resolved now?
Oh, I just haven't been the same since.
Yeah, that would have been pretty scary.
And I've been in the health and fitness industry for 23 years, and And for me, it's generally supposed to be good common sense. I had nothing over the whole of COVID, and I'm exposed to clients on a daily basis. And then I get the jab, and I have all these adverse effects, and now I get puffed out easily, and the heart skips a beat every now so often. My fatigue is horrendous. It's I am a shadow of the person I was before I had it. So, given that you said like it's kind of that 50-50 sort of thing, for me right now is, Kai's all I've got. I'm his only carer. So if something happens to me, then I'm screwed. And heaven forbid, I would not be able to live with myself if something happened to my son.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the hard thing is there's going to be a chance of that either way, but the chances either way are very low. So you've got to go with what feels right to you. So there's a chance with the immunisation, that Kai becomes the first kid who has it, and that's obviously a very low chance. There's a chance without the immunisation that he gets unwell from COVID, because it can happen, or that he gets this post-inflammatory syndrome. But again, those are both low chances. So it's a really hard, I think, trying to balance risk is actually really tricky. And I think, especially when you have a lived experience of one of those risks, so I would say that the risk of the vaccination is lower than the risk of getting sick from COVID, but both are very low. But for you, having gotten unwell with the vaccination, of course, that's your lived experience is different, and I think it's not unreasonable to hold off. Have you now got Novavax, or have you been fully immunised?
Well, I've had both shots, so I've had both Pfizer shots. Yeah. But I'm definitely not getting the booster. That's for sure. 100% not. So.
I mean, I think if they licensed Novavax for the booster, I would strongly recommend it. Because people are still getting sick from COVID. And I think especially if Kai's not going to get immunised, which I think would be reasonable. The risk is that he'll bring it home to you, and then you'll be in a position where, hopefully you don't get particularly unwell.
You mean like if you have to get a jab every 3 to 6 months to be immune against the flu that has a 98% success rate, that's no longer a vaccine. That's a drug.
Yeah, I mean, I think the problem is that it's mutate. It's like it's the early mutation phases. So it's you may have we don't really know when it's going to settle into a less commonly mutating virus. I completely agree. It's incredibly frustrating.
What are the percentage rates like of fatality in children with COVID that are not immunised? So if he doesn't get
unimmunised children.
Yeah.
So in Australia, I think like the percentage rate is vanishingly rare.
Yeah.
There's been no, I think there's been maybe 3 or 4 total.
Yeah.
So the risk to Kai from COVID is low.
Yeah. Okay.
I think the risk from the vaccine is also low.
Yeah.
But I think given what's happened for you from the vaccination, I think it's incredibly, and given that he's 7, and so at this stage, they're not mandating anything, or he's not going to be stopped from doing anything.
Yeah.
I think that it would be very fine to hold off.
Yeah. Okay.
I think if they end up changing that, and the balance is that actually, he's not able to do his taekwondo or whatever because he's not vaccinated. If that sort of stuff happens, and we also then have in Australia over 6 months of data that shows that there's no pericarditis or myocarditis in this age group, then maybe that balance.
Yeah.
But currently, I think it's completely legitimate to hold off.
Yeah, I really do appreciate your honesty in that as well. I mean, obviously, I've gone down the rabbit hole on both ends, and listened to the likes of, Dr. Robert Malone, who's the inventor of the mRNA vaccine, thing, and then, at Royal Children's Hospital, and listened to, the immunologists and virologists and everyone there as well. And
I think the thing that's so hard is just there's so much conflicting information and trying to work out
Yeah.
what you trust. And I think I trust the guys at the children's. I've worked with them. I know where they come from.
Yeah.
I trust the stuff that comes out. Even on that, though, in this age group, it's not, I think it's a completely reasonable thing not to get vaccinated, especially, I think, it's like getting in a car, right? Like there's risk, you get in a car, risk of being in a car accident.
Yeah.
So there's absolutely a risk. If Kai gets the vaccination, I think the risk is incredibly low.
Yeah.
That he would have a side effect when he could. Similarly, if he gets COVID, he'll probably have asymptomatic COVID or a cold. That's what most kids have.
Yeah.
We're both going to feel awful if it turns out he has more than that.
But that's obviously a very low. Yeah, but that's obviously a very low.
Very low.
Very low, and it's more.
The kids that are getting sick, as I said, the ones that are ending up in ICU are mostly kids that are obese.
Yeah.
And they're getting better. There's been a couple of kids that have died, not enough to even make it into a percentage. Like it's very low.
Yeah.
In the fact that I actually, know the backstories of most of them.
Yeah.
And the thing that worries me as someone who happens to admit kids is the post-inflammatory syndrome. But again, there have been thousands of kids now that have caught COVID. In Geelong, I've seen 2 with the post-inflammatory syndrome. I know there's been more in Melbourne, but again, it's low.
Yeah.
And, so I think I'm not sure that Novavax will get licensed for kids anytime soon because I think the impetus, it's never. Drug companies don't make any. It's a hassle to license for children, and so I think if there's something out there that's already licensed for kids, they probably won't push for it. Like they'll do they might go 12 and up, but they probably won't go on to that. So I think holding out for a vaccine, another vaccine, probably won't happen. I think it'll just be a decision about whether or not it's Kai either gets the vaccine or he gets COVID. Because he probably will catch it at some point over the next 12 months.
Yeah.
And he'll probably be fine from it.
Yeah, well, look, we've been in the guts of it for 2.5 years, and he's not even had a flu or a cold or anything.
We haven't had the degree of community transmission that we've had back here. We've completely changed our strategy as a society, so there will be, but he may get it and be completely asymptomatic.
Yeah.
So I'm not trying to scare you back.
No.
Get it.
Of course, no.
He'll get cold.
Yeah.
I think the chances that he is significantly unwell from it are very, very low. So, if you ask me if he's got a contraindication to get the vaccine, absolutely not. He can 100%, and we could give it to him on Friday, and we can do it observed in the hospital, and we're very happy to do that.
Yeah.
But if you're asking me, do I think it's unreasonable to hold off? I don't think it's unreasonable. It's not what I would do, but then I'm, as I said, ridiculously for vaccination.
Okay, of course.
But but I also didn't have any side effects when I had my vaccinations, and I might think differently if I had myocarditis. Yeah. So I think holding off is a reasonable thing to do, and I'd be very happy to. I can send you an email from our Fix This account.
Yeah.
Which you can then, contact me if you want to have another discussion in a couple of months.
Sure, absolutely,
to see where things are at that point.
I really appreciate your time and your help. That's been, it kind of put me at ease as well. I'm not saying it's no forever. I'm very much open to it. Like I said, I'm pro-vaccine because we've had all our shots. Every year we get the flu shot, all the rest of it, everything. But yeah, this one here, it's just, I feel my gut's telling me I just need to hold off for a little bit with it and just see it kind of roll out in the community.
Yeah, and I think that'd be fine.
Okay.
And I think, Anil Kai has read his last last echo. He's got great cardiac function. He's actually doing incredibly well. And I think, and especially if you stay well, which you should because you're healthy and and you've had 2 vaccinations, I think the chances are that you'll scoot through this and be fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
Yeah.
I'll send you an email for this.
Thank you.
And if you've got other questions or,
Sure.
I think this next week or two will also be very telling with everyone back at school.
Yeah, well, he just started today, so.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So open to discuss it further.
Yeah, sure.
I don't think he specifically has any contraindications, but I think that basically for any 7-year-old, I think it is not as clear cut that we should be getting back fed as it is in an older age group.
Yeah.
But at the same time, less side effects for some weird reason, which is kind of cool.
Okay.
Yeah. So happy for you to hold off.
Sure.
And very happy to discuss it.
Sure.
Further.
I really appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, and I hope he has a really good first day at school. So is he going into grade 2?
Grade 1, prep, so foundation. So he's only 6 years old, not 7.
6, sorry.
Yeah, so
because I'm looking, I'm doing I do the subtractions and to get the months.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's his first day of prep.
Yeah, it's his first day of prep.
Really
Yeah. We kept him in kinder last year. Just he had some learning delays, and then he had a pacemaker put in, and we thought it would just be easy for him, and it didn't mess with his routine because of all the lockdowns. So we just thought, let's just keep him in kinder.
Yeah, beautiful.
Cool.
And which school is he at?
St. Mary's. St. Mary's.
Okay. And they haven't put out anything that they're not going to be.
No, they're not. No, they're not mandating anything at this point. But they've followed all the protocols that are necessary by the government, and we've got the RAD tests and all that sort of stuff. So yeah. Yeah,
great.
Cool.
Awesome. All right. Well, I will send you. What's the best email address?
Yeah. It's Lisa at bodyfittraining.com.au.
Beautiful.
All right.
I'll send you an email so that you can get in contact with us if you need to talk further at any stage.
No worries. Thank you very much.
Cool.
Bye.
No worries. See you.